Recognize you and introduce you. Yeah.
Really?
Virginia's boy this weekend.
Wow, I didn't know that.
She happened to do it. You saw that.
When is the funeral? Do you know?
Yes.
You're talking about Virginia?
Yeah.
Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and 11 o'clock funeral. It's at the church out there where Peacock and 90 come together. It's their old church back in there. So, y'all ready? Good morning, everyone. This is a workshop reference to the 30A mobility update on December the 4th, 2017. Mr. Jay Lyles, I think I'll turn it over to you and you can introduce whomever.
Thank you, Commissioners. I'm Jay Lyles. I'm with the Seaside Institute, and I want to thank you all for taking the time this morning to do this workshop with us to get a status report on 30A mobility. In a few moments, I'm going to do an overview for you, but first I want to introduce Don Hammock with Dewberry Consulting, who will in turn tell you what we have in the way of presentations for you today and set the stage, and then we will begin to do this. I hope that today we can address the public as well as the commissioners. We need to begin to consolidate our feedback from the public about what they want to see on 30A in the way of answering some of the traffic problems that we have there. So during the day, we'll be talking as much to those who are in the audience and those who will be listening or will hear this later, and hopes that they too will give us their input. Once again, I want to thank you all, Chair Jones, especially you, and Commissioner Anderson. This is your district we're talking about, and this is also intended for all of Walton County. So thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate it very much.
It's the new chair.
Chair Chapman, thank you very much for allowing us to do this today. All right, with that, I'd like to introduce Don Hammock with Dewberry Consulting. Thank you.
Okay, while Don's coming up, I failed to mention that if you have an electronic device, phone, tablet, anything, silence them, please. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Don Hammock with Dewberry Engineers. I'd just like to echo what Jay said. We appreciate your attendance this morning, this opportunity to work with the county on this mobility study. We're going to present where we are to date and what our next steps are, and hopefully gain some feedback from not only you but any of the public that's attending this morning. So with that, I'd like to bring Jay back up to talk about our first steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. So today, we've asked folks from Dewberry Consulting. You've just heard from Don, and you'll be hearing more from them later. They are part of our team that the county contracted with to come up with the first level of feasibility study for this project. You'll be hearing from folks from HNTB Engineering as well, and today we have Greg Kruger and Jennifer Kennedy here from HNTB. They'll be talking with you. You're going to also be hearing from Hakim Tiber, Dr. Hakim Tiber, and I think you all are familiar with Dr. Tiber. He is with the International Transportation Innovation Center, and he's going to be talking about what the technologies are that are available now to do this in a fashion that we hope to ultimately the board will see the value in using state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art transportation in order to move people on 30A and to engage transportation throughout the community. There are many moving parts to all this, and that's a bad pun probably, but there are. You have contracted with a group known as Structured Parking Solutions. And today we have Greg Darden here, and I'm going to allow Greg to go ahead and make a presentation on the status of their work that they're doing first, because he's got to leave us a little early today. So I'd like to, if you don't mind, go a little bit out of order, have Greg come up, and then we'll go back to my overview of the 30A Mobility Project. So with that, Greg, would you like to make your presentation? Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, I think it's out of order. It's the other one, I believe. That one? Yeah, that one. Yes, sir. Thank you. Good. And just hit down to advance. Okay, very good. All right. Thank you, commissioners, for having me. Jay, thank you for having me. I appreciate it as well. I'll be very brief. Our team went after a public solicitation process about 5 months ago and was selected to help address mobility concerns as related to the TDC footprint, the southern portions of the county. Again, our team over the past 5 months has been working together, information, facts, due diligence, and other items. We have not made any formal findings to this commissioners just yet. We've also been hosting ourselves just a countless number of public meetings to ascertain the views and wishes and the thoughts of the citizens as well as key stakeholders in the area. What I would like to do today is basically or briefly present a few of the facts from our initial findings in preparation of our presentations to BCC coming up shortly. So essentially, I believe that our master plan goals that we're identifying are very similar to those that you're going to hear today. We believe that while there are pent-up demands for initial parking needs today, building parking continually in the southern part of the county is not a sustainable action. And ultimately, our master plan shows us evolving more into a park and ride program for the southern part of the county. At the same time, we also believe that there are other quintessentially important factors that need to be considered with the mobility plan in the southern part of the county. Bike share programs, ride share programs, the Lyft and Uber systems. Yeah, thank you. Hold us one second, I had technical difficulties. All right, so I think we're on, it's not advancing up. Yeah. All right, there we go. Sorry, I had technical difficulty. I apologize. Ultimately, though, we want to continue to make sure that we provide long-term access to the beaches for the citizens and the visitors of the county. We also want to promote alternative forms of transportation. We'd like to see dedicated right-of-ways for shuttles. Shuttles themselves, if a shuttle is sitting in traffic, it becomes less likely to be utilized as opposed to shuttles that are moving at a different rate of speed than sitting traffic. And then we also want to use technologies to improve the mobility system within the county as well. Continuing to move on, the first portion of our master plan that we hope to be suggesting for implementation initially would be those of public and employee-based shuttle programs. Start the people getting acclimated and used to park and ride systems, and then move them into larger park and rides as time and money allows. We also believe that the application and the development of a phone-based application that helps assist people with identifying shuttles and parking availabilities is an important endeavor. And then lastly, the development of a managed parking system for the southern part of the county. So I went very quickly, but I want to take a few minutes and explain our concepts and the direction our team's going. I think, again, that our concepts, we've met with Jay and his group several times, And I believe it's really, really important that we all are, quote, pulling the rope from the same direction, both as we ask for money, as we develop a collective master plan, and move forward with mobility improvements for the county. You want to take questions? What's your format, Jay? Do you want to have questions?
Not yet. I think what we're going to do is give them the big
Perfect.
picture and then solicit questions from that.
Very good.
Okay.
So commissioners, with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg. So if I just go down with this, we get to the next slideshow, and then go back to the beginning. Sorry. This will be the introduction portion. Look like the one that I put in there. Okay. There it is. That's it. Thank you. Let's push it down. All right. Again, thank you, commissioners. So my job today is to set the table for the folks who will be giving you the nuts and bolts of how you can get this off the ground. And let's just begin by stating that this is a project that we are doing in coordination with and with the support and the help of Walton County. And again, I want to thank you all for giving your support to this effort. We all know that 30A is the lifeblood of our economic engine in Walton County. And part of what we're trying to do is expand that economic engine so that it's not just tourism, that it goes beyond the attraction of people from other parts of the country and the world to come here for the beautiful beaches alone, but that we can create other ways of giving folks opportunity in Walton County, from manufacturing to education to engineering and technology. But first of all, the problem that I was asked to help address was we've got congestion on 30A. It's hurting homeowners, it's hurting business, it's hurting the tourist. If we don't begin to address it, and you all have taken the lead to do so, but if we didn't begin to address this, we're going to see a tipping point occur, and we're getting close to that, where people are going to say, I want to go elsewhere. As my good friend Robert Davis says, Yogi Berra once said, nobody goes there anymore, it's too crowded. We don't want that to happen to 30A in South Walton. What we want to do is, and this is our motto for 30A Mobility, is ask people to slow down and enjoy the ride. You're not here necessarily to work and be stressed out, you're here to have fun. So if you drive to 30A, we'd like to see people park their cars and start using multimodal transportation. If you work here, we want to see folks come down to 30A who are there every day. We want them to shuttle down so that they don't take up parking and they don't have to worry about arriving to work on time. If you fly here, we want you to be able to come into the airport and get transportation to 30A and never have to use a car. That's ideally where we would be. We've got a long way to go, but the first steps that we think are important is it needs to be multimodal. You need to be able to go to Publix on a bicycle if you wish, come back in a cart if you wish. And if you're coming into 30A for the day, there should be a shuttle service. As my friend Greg Darden said, he's going to propose some parking structures, but you got to get people that last mile. So this is the kind of solutions we're working on. Later on today, you're going to be hearing from the founder of Proterra Bus. Proterra is an all-electric bus. They've set records with their ability to carry people for distance and for the size of the bus and for the electrical power they're using. All of these follow one theme. They're all electric. They're all zero-emission vehicles. We think that's an important part of what the 30A mobility ought to be. And even more important, it ought to be fun. People are not going to get out of their cars and get on transit options if it's not fun to use it. So this is an example of some of the stuff you could do. And you might take an old VW bus and make it a 16-passenger, 20-passenger bus by stretching it. All of that is supported by the technology and the engineering and manufacturing that's coming out today, and that is things like 3D printing. So when we talk about 30A mobility, we're talking about moving people, but we're also talking about bringing manufacturing here and bringing 3D printing types of businesses here. There are a lot of spin-offs that will help build the economic engine that can be all of Walton County, from Defeniak Springs through Freeport down to 30A. So we don't want to just see somebody sitting in a standard bus stuck in traffic. We want there to be ways of moving people without them having to just be part of the problem. We want to be part of the solution to all of this. And that's what you're going to be hearing about today. So I put this slide up here because there's been a lot of talk about the educational opportunities that this could present for Walton County. And we do believe that if you will adopt the idea of making this a state-of-the-art transportation system, you'll have 30A become a test bed for the latest ability to move people. We talk a lot about autonomous vehicles. It is the coming wave. This is a technology that you're going to hear in a few minutes from Dr. Tiber is, in fact, happening. There are communities around the country adopting the use of autonomous vehicles to get people from point A to point B. So this is not pie in the sky. It can actually be done here. What we'd like to see is that as that technology evolves, it gets tested here, approved here, and then you have a real world setting in which to try it out. So we began this as, let's solve 30A transportation. Let's get people an easier way to move around 30A. And due to your vision, this has become the One Walton concept, which is all about let's get people from North County down here who want to come for the day. Let's look at where we can put educational facilities in mid-county so that when kids are looking for a future in Walton County, they can see that this is something they may have a great interest in being involved in and learning how to operate these vehicles and maintain these vehicles and develop these vehicles. We want to expand this regionally at some point from airport to airport. So what you're looking at has grown from just let's fix 30A to let's create a transportation innovation center and make it Walton County's future. And I think that's an exciting prospect. So with that, what I'd like to do is just for a moment encourage folks who are in the audience today and folks who will listen to this telecast today to write to me at 30aj@seasideinstitute.org. And if you will, and just say you're interested in commenting on this project, I will send them a questionnaire. And this has the opportunity for you to not only answer some bullet point questions, A, B, C, but you can also put in comments about how you think the 30A mobility project should evolve. This is, after all, this community's idea, not the Seaside Institute's idea. It has to have the buy-in of the full 30A community and Walton County. So I encourage people to email me and request that questionnaire. I have a few copies out here. If anyone wants to fill it out on paper, they're right outside the door.
Will you repeat that one more time? 30aj@seaside.
Institute.org. And Seaside Institute is one word.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now I believe that, Don, are you going to make the introduction, or is Greg? All right, I'm going to turn the program over to Greg Kruger, and he will make the next introduction. Thank you.
Jay and
Yes, sir.
your presenters, a lot of we don't know, okay? So when you come to the podium, spell your last name for the clerk so we'll have a clean record, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak in front of you. I'm Greg Krieger, Krueger, with HNTB. I manage HNTB's Connected Autonomous Vehicle and Smart Cities program, located physically in Jacksonville, but work all over the world. So a lot is happening in this space, and it's very exciting to see a lot happening here in Walton County to be actively engaged in. Want to go over real quickly the project objectives and the needs so that we can really start focusing on where we are with the technology and the solution. One of the things that we've come up with, I'll start with the objectives, is the primary objective is to develop a feasibility study for what an automated shuttle service would look like in Walton County, specifically along the 30A corridor. We'll hear, and you've heard already from Jay, talking a lot about what's happening in Walton County as a whole, with the mobility, the Jobs Mobility Project along 331, with the Structured Parking Solutions Project. There's a lot happening that we need to make sure that we tie into and integrate with, which is why we've asked both Proterra and Greg from Structured Parking to be here, because we can't operate things in isolation anymore. That just doesn't work. So the objective is to look at this as a 38 corridor, but make sure that as we're doing it, to look at it with what's happening throughout the rest of the county to make sure we don't wind up with these disparate solutions in only one location that only work for one set of potential users or residents. So the goal is to develop a 38 mobility plan for the 38 corridor, specifically looking at what's happening through the rest of the county that affects the 38 corridor. The outcomes, really we're looking at 3 or 4 key tasks here, and we'll talk through those tasks as part of the presentation. The first is a needs analysis. You've already invested a lot of money and a lot of resources into what are the needs in the 38 corridor. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel, so we pretty much took those verbatim, redocumented them, reformatted them in a series of statements so that we can make sure that as we're moving forward, we are addressing those needs. We're not looking at technology for the sake of technology, we're looking at solutions that meet needs, and we think that's a very important first step. The second key step is, as Dr. Tiber will talk about here at the next part of the presentation, is the technology. We want to talk about the technology, the readiness of the technology, and the readiness that we are to be able to start to deploy some of what we're talking about. The last thing we want to do is propose something that's not going to be able to meet the needs for 30 years because the technology is 30 years away from development. We want to make sure that the technology we're talking about can actually be deployed as soon as next year, or even in some cases today if we're ready for it. The third component is going to be a list of concepts, and my colleague Jennifer Kennedy will talk about the last 2 parts, which is, one is the concepts. What is the broad concept that we're looking at for 38? What are the different components of a mobility corridor? Whether it's mobile applications to be able to request rides, to the vehicles themselves, to how the incentivizing or incentivization for people to use those different solutions to get them out of their single occupant vehicles. And then finally, the concept plans. And we've got our preliminary list. This will really be the first showing of that preliminary list of what we think 38 will look like and what those projects will be over the next 20 to 30 years, of what individual projects, how they're broken down, and then how they ultimately will build into an overall program. So the first step of this is the needs assessment. And I'm going to run through these fairly quickly, but feel free if there's questions or comments to stop. We addressed about 12 key statements in here, looking at where are the problems with traffic, where are the specific problems, where are the bottlenecks with traffic, what are the causes of those traffic problems, when is the worst congestion, to make sure that we're addressing things correctly in terms of time, what time of day in those worst times has the worst congestion. Special events, how do we address special events to make sure that we're able to meet the needs of those special events as appropriately as we possibly can? What attractions are most visited? Where are those core destinations that the users of the mobility corridor will be approaching and want to use? Shopping centers and commercial districts are most frequented. How do we get people to and from those shopping districts and commercial districts? Which beaches are the most crowded? And is it an issue of the beaches being crowded or access to the beach being a problem? What are the areas that you have to pay to park? Are there places that we have parking issues today, whether it's paid or whether it's waiting in line for parking? How do we address schools and students to make sure that school buses and students are addressed appropriately? And what are the large employment centers? Along the 38 corridor, we generally know what they are, but how does that then tie back into what's happening along 331, Freeport, Defuniak Springs, and such along the entire corridor? So our intent wasn't to reinvent the wheel with those needs. Our intent was to take a look at what's already been done, a significant body of work, reformat that into a short and sweet document so that we were able to work off of something to move forward with where we're going with the overall needs. So with that, then our second component was the technology. Take a look at what's out there today, how ready is it, and how ready is it specifically for, or how ready is it to meet those needs associated with Walton County and with 38. And with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Tiber to talk through where we are there.
Technology aspect. Yes, good morning. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Joachim Tiber, T-A-I-B-E-R, and I'm the CTO of an organization called ITIC, which stands for International Transportation Innovation Center. So what I will do is I will give a quick overview about the technology situation. So what is important for the 30A corridor, that we on the one hand are leveraging technologies like automated driving to tackle the traffic issues, to use shared mobility models, so not everybody using its car, actually sharing vehicles. Also from an environmental perspective, whenever possible, to use electrification and zero-emission technology. And from a safety perspective, very important to use the so-called vehicle-to-X technologies, which connect the different vehicles with each other and make them aware of each other. We have looked at different vehicle categories in our technology assessment: passenger vehicles, low-speed vehicles, public transit vehicles, and trucks, also goods delivery. And we were basically trying to understand where is the automation level right now, what is possible today, what will be possible in the next couple of years. When it comes to what is available today, you see that here in this chart that in fixed route deployment, you can already use automation. So that's the first step that I would suggest, to use high-level automation for basically low-speed shuttles that are operated on fixed routes. Another important point on the electrification: if you use electrification, you basically have to take care of charging infrastructure, so you need to know when to charge these vehicles and where to charge them. So we have looked into different charging technologies. What you see here in green is what is currently already available. So typically conductive charging, also in higher power levels, is widely available. There's a lot of commercial solutions already there. The key question is, where do you deploy them? When it comes to wireless charging, where we recently had a workshop, that is in principle already ready for the deployment soon. For stationary applications. When it comes to in-motion, that is a little bit further out. Another aspect is communication networks. So you need basically certain network technologies like dedicated short-range communication and cellular network technology up to 5G to support these vehicles. And what you see here is 4G and DSRC is basically ready to be deployed. 5G will still take a little bit of time, most likely at least 3 years, until we are seeing in a larger way 5G deployments. From a safety and security perspective, we are recommending that we first basically define which of the mobility services do we want to have for 30A. We should first test these technologies in a closed testbed environment where ITSC can help, because we have access to those closed testbed. And then in the next step, after a basic validation from a safety and security perspective, to deploy them then in 30A in the different assignments. These next couple of pictures are just showing that the technology is already there. Here's an example of the shuttle in Las Vegas that is deployed. There's another shuttle, an automated low-speed shuttle in Michigan in operation. Also in Germany, this is an example of a Local Motors vehicle. Local Motors was actually here a couple of months ago to showcase their technology here. There's also another example is a shuttle with wireless charging, which is being tested with the company EasyMile at NRL. And then also recently, those of you who were able to go to the Florida Automated Vehicle Summit might have seen these Starship delivery robots, which are also ready to be deployed. So in terms of EV charging, there are some programs, federal programs that can be leveraged, where also Florida is involved. And in terms of wireless charging, as I said, I think we should keep our, so there is interest to use 30A also for this technology, but that is still a little bit further out. So that was a quick and dirty overview about where we are standing with the technology, and hopefully that helped you to assess where we are right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tiber. So the overall objective of Task 2 was Dr. Tiber, with his expertise around the country. I think you spent last week in Europe and the week before in Asia. Yeah. Trying to schedule conference calls with him is interesting. There's a lot happening in this field right now, and one of the key things to take away from this is this project is not pushing Walton County somewhere that the rest of the world isn't already going. The industry, the people mover industry, the transportation industry is moving very rapidly towards automated vehicles and electrified automated vehicles. We're seeing it in Florida. Jacksonville, the JTA will be deploying their first shuttle, their test pilot project here later this month, I believe, on Bay Street. We're hearing about it, a couple of major developments in Florida where neighborhoods are looking to develop these kinds of shuttles or deploy these kinds of shuttles as well, along with what's happening in Las Vegas, University of Michigan, other places around the United States. Penn State Harrisburg is in the process that by this time next year they will have one up and running there. The Mayo Clinic in the Super Bowl up in Minnesota will have one running this year for the Super Bowl, the Mayo Clinic next year. So this is happening very quickly. The good news is it's happening very quickly, and we're able to stand on the shoulders of those who have taken the arrows in their backs from being the early deployers. So we're able to move that deployment forward and be much safer, much more aggressive in what's happening, knowing that a lot of other work has been done in this space, both from developing technology and from deploying it in the real world. So that was really the primary takeaway. There's a lot happening in this space, and it's not 2040, it's 2018 when this will be ready, and we'll see it on streets around the country much more than we do today. With that, I'd like to move to the next component, which is really the concepts. Where is it that we see this project going? So based on the needs, based on the technology, and based on the geography, we've really broken down the last phase of the project into two major pieces. One is the concept scenarios, which, as Jennifer will talk through, what does this look like in terms of a day in the life? What are the kinds of technologies, what are the kinds of applications that you will see driving along 38 in the future when this all comes to pass? And the second starts breaking it down into specific sub-projects. So we talked the high level, this is what the vision is, but that doesn't get us anywhere. We need to figure out where those small sub-projects are. How do we actually make this happen? How do we eat the elephant, per se, as opposed to trying to tackle everything at once? So with that, I'd like to introduce my colleague Jennifer Kennedy to walk through the concepts and the scenarios.
Good morning, I'm Jennifer Kennedy, Kennedy, like the president, no relation. And I'm with HNTB. I'm a traffic and a transportation planner. So the concept scenarios, we broke it down into overnight guests, so people who are coming and spending the night along 30A, day use guests, people who are just coming for the day, not spending the night, residents who live along 30A, and then commuters, people elsewhere in Walton County or another county who come and work in the area. So one of the main components to this is the park and ride lot. So this can be a garage, it could be surface parking, like a day-use lot. And a way we can identify these park and ride lots and make them somewhat special is to add very interesting graphics, architecture. This would be a gate for overnight park and ride lots where people may want to park their car and have some more security. So in the concept report, we talk about different levels of security, pricing, services that people may want and may pay extra for at these park and ride lots. So the whole concept is park your car in the park and ride lot. You don't have to touch it for the rest of your stay. You can use the automated vehicles, the shuttles, to get around 30A. So some of the services in the park and ride lot, we could have electric vehicle charging stations in there. There could be a valet that's able to charge the car, take the car off the charger, park it in the spot. And then the pictures down below show an outdoor area that would have canopies made of solar panels, so you can also use this energy to do lighting. You can use it for vehicle charging or other charging needs. So service is really important. Having a valet that can come and get your luggage, like a luggage courier, who can take your luggage in and out of the car, who can park your car for you as you're coming into the park and ride lot, and also people who are staying for a long while. Maybe they want their car detailed, so that can be a service that's offered as well within the park and ride system. So reservation payment, we're proposing a mobile app, a 30A mobility app, and this can be used to find shuttle routes. It can be used to make payments, reservations at restaurants. Basically anything you can think of that would need a reservation, you can use the mobile app for. Maybe you don't even bring your wallet on your trip, or if you're a resident, you can leave your wallet at home. But if you don't want to use the 30A app, you can also use a website or one of the kiosks that are at the lot. Security in the lot's really important. Using the app, you could also look and you can see how your car is in the parking lot, being able to access the cameras, which would be run through a separate security company. Also, blockchain technology is being used, and this is basically a way to encrypt information and make payments through the mobile app. So getting around, I know Jay touched a little bit on some of the structures of the shuttle. So for a worker shuttle, or what we'll talk about later when we get into the feasibility report, a larger shuttle for workers, and then smaller shuttles that can hold about 12 to 20 people, and that's shown in the right corner there. And that's being used throughout the United States and some pilot projects today, being able to transport people to and from the park and ride lots to their locations. There's also on-demand shuttles that can be used, such as like a Tesla or an Uber system, where you could go through your mobile app that you have, or one of the other reservations schemas that we talked about, and you can request a shuttle to be ready when you're ready. So you can reserve that ahead of time, notify them, hey, I'm going in the shuttle, and the shuttle will be ready for you. And in the bottom right is just some fun little beach architecture that you could be used to put actually on the shuttle on the top right. The look, you can take that body, that outer shell of that vehicle, and put it on the shuttle and make it more beach and fun for the area. And there'd be a day-use shuttle and an overnight-use shuttle. The day-use shuttle is to be more open air. But if there's rain or something, of course, you could close some flaps. And one of the pictures that we have up here in the upper left corner would be like a day-use shuttle or an on-demand shuttle that you can use. Would that be convertible with a top that comes, retracts and comes up. So getting around on the other side of the mobility, we have electric bicycles. This is being used in one of the more northern states, actually, but it's a bike system where they have bike charging stations along a trail. So it's an electric assist bike, and then if you want more mileage, then you can charge the bikes free at these stations. So something similar to that would be in effect also electric mopeds, and then some ride-share vehicles that are shown on the right. So looking around for the concepts, we developed different routes for the different shuttles, put in some names, temporarily because it's all conceptual right now, and some areas that we would have a day use park and ride stop and an overnight use park and ride stop. And amenities in the area will include the shuttle stop structure with solar panels on top, but also having interactive walls of the structure so people can see their shuttles, the routes. They can actually request stops through these interactive panels. And another thing that we've implemented is augmented reality, which is the picture shown on the right. So in the day use shuttle, you could actually take a tour using this mobile app. You can hear about the area. You can hold the mobile app up. I don't know if you've seen the Pokemon Go game that's been so popular. So similar to that, you could hold that app up, which is what's showing here, and it shows you the augmented reality, giving you history, culture of the area, and really just engaging the visitor or resident who just wants to go for a fun ride with the area. And some other amenities, these are actually glow-in-the-dark solar stones. So they're used on the pathways and illuminate the area, and can also act for graphic design as well. So the backbone of all this would be an IT infrastructure. So you would need a control center to be managing the shuttles, being able to oversee the technology, vehicle storage area, and maintenance facility. And along with this, I believe Jay touched on this, is a learning center. So with all this technology is the great opportunity to be able to have students with high school, collegiate programs come in and really learn about these vehicles and how they work, how to maintain, how the infrastructure works. So that's a big part and component of this. And with that, I will pass it to Don to talk about the cross sections real quick.
Good morning again. My name is Don Hammack, H-A-M-M-A-C-K. So you've heard a lot about autonomous vehicles, new technology, and things like that. We understand this is a mobility study, and so we have multiple users, multiple demands on our limited right-of-way out there. In addition to, say, autonomous vehicles, we have traditional cars, trucks, parking, bicyclists, pedestrians. So what we did, we looked at a couple alternatives, what can we physically fit to meet everyone's needs in our limited right-of-way. So we looked at the tightest section. It's about 70 feet existing right-of-way. There are some sections that have 100 feet. In this section here, we show dedicated bicycle lanes, the on-street parking, and then we would mix the autonomous vehicles with traditional vehicles, share-use travel lanes. So then we took it another step, and if we wanted to separate the autonomous vehicle, we looked at a bi-directional autonomous vehicle. In this scenario, the bicyclists would share the roadway with your traditional vehicles. We maintained the on-street parking and 10-foot sidewalks. There's certain areas where there's heavy pedestrian traffic. So, we thought of trying to accommodate that. And what I don't want to, one size doesn't fit all in this case. We'd have some areas where there's not as much development that we could open the section up, but we just wanted to look at, like I said, what were our alternatives. Our third alternative, we showed autonomous vehicle lanes for each direction of travel. Again, shared use, bicycle and traditional vehicle lanes, maintained the on-street parking. We went to 5-foot sidewalks to fit that. So these are just some things that we can look at as we go forward. Obviously, we have to cost everything out. And like I said, try to choose the most appropriate typical section for each portion of the project.
So we're now entering into the feasibility projects of the stage in the overall project. So early projects that we're talking about are the service type projects, and these are projects that could be done in 1 to 5 years. Let me go. So the first one would to be building a park and ride lot that would be used for workers. So with this, it would be a route that goes from this park and ride lot, which is along 98 there. You can see it's a little green dot. That's just an approximate location too. And you would ride this lot from there to the County Highway 395. And this would be using a Proterra or other type bus that would hold about 40 or so workers. The next would be a route that we call it the Grayton Spur, watercolor spur. So it would go from the county annex to County Road 283 park and ride lot that's existing there. And this is the existing lot that I believe you have. And from there, you could also do a route from the county annex to 393, and then from the county annex that goes along 395 to US 98. There's also intersection improvements that would be needed at 393, 283, and at Watercolor Boulevard. And so this would improve like pedestrian detection, just some other improvements to make traffic flow better in the area. And also this would be when the 30A mobility application would be introduced. So workers could see the schedule of the buses. They could request a reservation for the buses. And then we jump into the mid-range projects, which start to make room for an AV lane and also take into account the IT infrastructure and data centers that would need to be constructed. So the mid-range projects, 5 to 10 years, would be communications upgrades throughout the quarter. So this would include fiber, things for security cameras, other traffic operations, cameras. And another project would be a dedicated electric and autonomous vehicle lane from Defuniak Springs that goes down 283 and then connects to County Road 38. The data center and the TMC, which is Traffic Management Center, would need to be constructed. And this could possibly be done at the Panama City Airport. So right now we're looking at the feasibility of where this would be constructed. And from there we would have the Panama City Airport shuttle that would come along to down towards 30A and the county annex area. The long range projects are 10 plus years. So approximately year 2030, we proposed an EAV lane from Western Lake Bridge to County Road 393, and oh, sorry, I'm jumping a little bit ahead, so that's that one. And in that same year, having an EAV lane that goes along 395 to US 98, and constructing a park and ride lot at US 98 for that. And then an EAV lane from Seaside to Rosemary that would be dedicated. In 2040, an EAV lane would be constructed from County Road 283 to Western Lakes Bridge. And I'll just go over the next step. So this is the feasibility report that we were talking about, which we're currently doing. So our next step is to complete this feasibility report, including a draft assessment of the needs and the costs, and this would include roadway costs, right-of-way costs, other facility costs, costs of vehicles, and support services, and to identify any funding that would be needed and necessary steps to take to achieve that funding.
All right. So my colleagues and I have presented you all with a lot of information. I want to take a moment to see if you have some questions of any of the people who have presented so far, and then we'll take the next step and wrap this up for you today. So do we have any questions you'd like
Any questions from the board?
I'd like a little
Commissioner
bit more
Jones.
information on the delivery shuttle. Is that like FedEx delivery, grocery delivery? And do you know of any area that already has that in progress?
I've seen these toys. I'm going to ask Dr. Tiber to make comment on that.
Starship, that the picture that I showed about the Starship. So there are currently 2 pilots. One is in the West Coast.
Doctor,
Come up here.
either up here or turn that mic on over there.
Okay, let me come here. So I said on the Starship project, there is currently 2 pilots which should be now nearly completed. One is on the West Coast, close to San Francisco, and the other is in DC. And what basically is being tested there is more grocery and small goods delivery. So more practical testing to see how people perceive that and whether it adds value. So I was just attending the Florida Automated Vehicle Summit, where a Starship representative was there, and they say they are now basically going into larger deployment projects. So they were very pleased with their feedback. What I think is a little bit an issue with this vehicle is more when you go over stairs, and so if they're so you need to have a certain environment where that vehicle can operate.
Right, yeah, it's kind of low too. You know, it seems like it could get run over very easy. But that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nipper?
Jay, the Tesla station that's in Defuniak, are they being receptive? Are you working with them at all?
Quite a bit, actually,
Good.
Commissioner.
Glad to
Thank
hear
you
it.
for asking that. They have been coming to 30A for the last couple of years giving test drives and are getting great results from that. So Rosemary Beach has asked for a charge station to be placed there as well. And I don't believe that there's any intention to reduce their presence in Walton County. I think they have every intent to expand their presence here. We'd hope to have a couple of vehicles here today. Unfortunately, the scheduling of this just didn't work for them, but you can expect them back in your community on a regular basis.
Jay, have you heard that the Tesla station in Defuniak is one of the biggest users? I've heard that before too.
I have, yes.
Now, I know we have a pilot program going with transportation coming from the north to the south. We just got a couple of $100,000, I believe, to help with that. Does anybody, who would know where we are with that?
Well, you have Rob Mahan in the audience
Yes.
today. Rob, would you like to come up and give them a briefing? Briefly, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Rob Mahan with the West Florida Regional Planning Council, MAHAN. I believe that Florida Department of Transportation has put a project in their 2018 budget, which would start July of 2017. And that's for service along 331 between Defuniak and the annex here. And I believe it's to start off just during the busy season, then to expand into the shoulder seasons in the second year, and then to go all year in the third year.
Right. I think it would work well coming from Defuniak, but until we have some transportation going east and west, then it's going to be backlogged. So, I mean, I would hope simultaneously we could get coming from Defuniak to the annex and then east-west in case they need, if they work at Sandestin or work at Rosemary or, so anyway.
Yes, I'm drafting right now, I should have it done before the holidays, an application for funds to do that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nipper?
I do. I've got one more question. Ms. Kennedy, this is from your presentation. I noticed that you were targeting Panama City's airport. Is that because of, what do they call it now, Destin Fort Walton is partial military? Is that reason the connector road is to PC Airport as opposed to Destin Fort Walton? I'm just wondering, is it Panama City's airport or is it the Destin?
We suggested Panama City's airport mainly because that gets a lot of traffic.
It does. Okay.
But
I didn't know.
There's no reason to say that there can't be a route to Destin. So that's kind of what we're looking at as far as our feasibility study goes, and really determining and nailing down some more of these routes, which we welcome any input from you guys, from anyone in the audience.
I didn't know Panama City's airport was doing much better than our Destin one. It must have much more traffic than I'm sure you've done your analysis. Thank you.
Commissioner Anderson?
Now, I've been to one of their mobility studies, and I've met these people before, and so I've had most of my questions answered there. It's the thing that really excites me about this program is the possibility for technology companies coming to Walton County. We're, as I said in the last meeting with y'all, Jay, we're losing our best and our brightest.
Yes, sir.
And we have a great service industry, and tourism will always be our #1 industry. But if we don't start diversifying, we're never going to get our best and brightest staying home. So these are the things that intrigue me about this. And when you're sitting in a room with a bunch of engineers from Toyota, and these guys, they tend to talk over your head quite a bit, but I did catch a little here and there. But you know, we can change the face of Walton County with a program like this, and that's what's exciting about it to me. And I know it's a work in progress, but this, you don't get there without taking the first step.
Okay. Jay, in reference to Owl's Head, have y'all still got anything going on or conceptually as far as the use of that property up there for the
Sure.
technology and the training and whatever?
Yes, sir. And the county's got the lead on that, and that is a great segue into what I wanted to talk to you about before you hear from Dale Hill. The Owl's Head development is something that is being, there's forward motion to it. As with most developments, there are still pieces of the crossing the T's and dotting the I's that need to be worked out. But it's encouraging to have the county putting in a proposal to Triumph Board to have the infrastructure put there, because it just makes sense for a place that's mid-county to be considered one of your primary locations for an education center and a research and development center. You have a willing developer who wants to provide land at no cost to the county to put those kinds of facilities on, and the property is such that you could put as we like to think of it, you could put a seaside style walkable new urbanism community there that would be very attractive to new homeowners in Walton County. It's very close to the coast, but you don't have to pay the price to be on the coast. It has so many pieces of it that are so appealing. That just has to evolve out. We have to see how that can be done. And we're very appreciative that the county put that in your proposal to Triumph. And that's what I wanted. That's why I said this is a great segue. What you've heard today is the introduction to what can be, as Commissioner Anderson said, a whole nother economic engine for Walton County with manufacturing and research and development of these technologies. So we think this presents itself as a future proposal to the Triumph Gulf Coast Board. And at the same time, I've been following what's happening in Tallahassee, and VW has reached their settlement with the U.S. government, and Florida will be receiving a very large sum of money, yet to be determined in my opinion, but it's in the multi-millions of dollars. They want to see that money go into electrical vehicles and electric charging. Here again, we're sitting at the cusp of something that is very appealing to that particular segment, to the people who are trying to find ways to spend the VW settlement effectively, smartly, and in the right places. In addition to that, you all have seen the wisdom in going forward again with a request to the legislature. Last year, the body itself presented us with $1.96 million. The governor vetoed it. Honestly, I follow the process. I don't think the governor's office had a problem with what you're trying to do here. They see the value in it. He just had a political problem with his legislature, and we were the victims of that, along with every other local project. I'm excited to go back to the 2018 legislature and see if we can't get that again. But there's a lot of interest, and there are a lot of sources of funding we could put into this. So I hope that helps answer your
Yes,
question
it
as best I
does.
can.
You got any more presentation?
Yes, sir. One more presentation, and while Dell Hill is setting up, Dell is with Proterra Bus. They are one of the great innovators in electric bus use. He's going to show you a short video of where the status is of electric buses and how that fits into all of this. And while he's getting set up, I just wanted to recognize Robert Davis, who's in the audience today. And, you know, Robert has been allowing the Seaside Institute, and frankly, it's on his dime, that he allows the Seaside Institute to have the people like Toyota come here, and from IBM and from all the other technology providers in the country and across the globe to tell us how you do it in this kind of setting. So I just want to thank Robert for having given us this opportunity.
And Jay, I'd quickly like to mention that you and I have spoken about the potential, that there is a potential up on the District 3 property, even though it is further north for technologies up in that direction.
Yes,
We've already spoke about that.
Jay, at the Owl's Head, was there the retirement center that was so interesting, was that part of the Owl's Head project too, the retirement center that Mr. Davis has proposed?
And the way we describe it is aging with grace.
Yes.
And it's not your traditional congregation of people left there to end out their lives in a institution. This whole concept is about making sure people can stay in their homes and can visit their doctors and can contribute to their community right up to their final days, and know that they can get transportation to get to a doctor, get to a hospital, and have people come to them. And so that's I think the project you're talking about. And yes, ma'am, that's an extremely important part of all of this.
Good. I just couldn't remember the name of it, but I knew it was important.
That's it. And so now let me just ask Dale to tell you a little bit about what the status is of electric buses. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jay. Dale Hill, I'm the founder of Proterra, and I'm here to speak to you for a few minutes about the paradigm shift that's going on throughout the transit industry and how fast that's moving. So a picture's worth 1,000 words. Oh, maybe.
Across America. It's the complete transformation of transit. With smart, connected, clean, efficient vehicles, utilizing new technologies, fueled by clean energy, advanced design, and intelligent planning. Innovating in 4 advanced research, design, and manufacturing facilities around the U.S., Proterra is reimagining and reinventing transit, driven by a vision to provide clean, quiet transportation for all. Introducing the Proterra Catalyst, the first bus designed and built from the ground up as an electric vehicle. Drawing inspiration and ideas from energy, aerospace, and high tech, the Proterra Catalyst is the best performing bus on the road with 0 tailpipe emissions. Featuring a low maintenance electric drivetrain, energy dense batteries, and a lightweight impact resistant composite body, the Proterra Catalyst has delivered a stunning leap forward in energy efficiency. With the equivalent of 21 miles per gallon, the Catalyst achieves a 500% improvement over internal combustion engines and a nominal range of up to 350 miles. This is not incremental change. This is revolutionary change. The cost of electric vehicle technology is falling faster every year. Based on this trend alone, we envision that by 2030, almost every new bus deployed in America will be electric. Economics will make it the only sensible choice. Proterra is powering this transformation right now, with customers in over 20 states and more than 3.1 million zero-emission miles on our odometer, and thousands more miles added every day by transit agencies across the country. Proterra is driving the transportation revolution, changing the way people experience mobility in their communities, creating clean, quiet transit for all. This is our vision and our journey. Join us.
So just to give you a little bit of an update on Proterra, I founded the company in 2004. never having any idea that it would grow to the magnitude it has today, as fast as it has. We have over 350 employees. We have 2 manufacturing plants, one in Greenville, South Carolina, one in the City of Industry in California. Our headquarters is in Burlingame, California, and that's where our battery engineers, our battery test lab, and our battery manufacturing is performed. People say, well, I think battery electric buses are probably concentrated on the West Coast. But what you see on this map here is all of our customers throughout the United States. We've got over 61 customers now, and about 125 vehicles deployed, 350 on back order. And so the other thing that's listed here is you look to funding sources moving forward. The Federal Transit Administration has an annual fund called LONO. There were 51 awardees this past year. 29 of those went to Proterra customers for sole source procurements, and those are the ones that are listed there on the right. So there is funding available from the federal government. This is just showing our 3 different locations that I mentioned. And what is driving battery electric buses, sustainability is free now. We come to you with a vehicle that over the 12-year life of the vehicle will save you $100,000 to $200,000, and so that that is what is really prompting battery electric bus propagation. When we started out, we worked with small cities. Today, we are building buses for New York City, Philadelphia, Washington D.C., Dallas, Seattle, Washington, Los Angeles. So the big cities, and many big cities such as Seattle and Los Angeles, Austin, Texas, have already voted that all future procurement of buses will be battery electric. So you would not be a pioneer going forward to this. And it's driven by economics, it's driven by sustainability, it's driven by quietness. And these are just some comparisons here, and I know time's very precious here, so I'm going to move on as fast as I can. At Proterra, we build a vehicle from the ground up. We don't assemble components as a conventional bus manufacturer. We're vertically integrated. We do all the engineering in-house, and so we're able to control our own destiny. If a new battery technology comes along, then we're able to test that battery technology and know if it's going to be viable within a few weeks, rather than having to outsource that to other people. Reliability of our vehicles is superior to that of a diesel or a natural gas or a hybrid electric vehicle. You generally look at about a 90% fleet availability rate on a diesel vehicle, and our fleet availability rate now runs about 95%. Seattle, Washington, before they introduce any new vehicle into revenue service, they try to replicate a year's service in 90 days. The bus you see here, they loaded with 14,600 pounds of water, the equivalent of 97 passengers. They ran that bus 24 hours a day for 106 days. They were down 6 days. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, 2 days, or 1 day for preventive maintenance, 2 days to fix a broken bracket that were not even a part of their production buses. As a result of the success of that test in their first 3 vehicles, last January they placed an order for 76 more vehicles. We size our vehicle to your needs. This is just showing the different amounts of energy in kilowatt hours that we can place on a bus. And we have different charging techniques. We have automated overhead charging, and we have plug-in charging. And for plug-in charging, we use a standard J1772 plug and charger, which is what you use for a Chevy Bolt or a BMW. Our battery packs are roughly 3 feet by 8 feet by 7 inches tall. They're housed underneath the bus, and those are recyclable. They're stackable. So when a battery reaches about 80% state of life, it may not have enough energy to power a bus all day long, but it still is good to 30 or 40% state of life. So we can stack those. And the stack you see here would fit in a 20-foot ISO shipping container, and that's 4 megawatts. So where am I going with all that? Well, this just shows a standard car plug and how you can plug in for overnight charging. But where we're going with that is a covered parking lot under which you park the buses, and that's all solar. That then charges Second Life batteries that are in this container I was talking about, and then you use that to charge your buses, so you can almost operate, particularly in this environment, off-grid, and it gives you power if you have a hurricane or something like that. As long as the solar panels haven't been restored, you still have power to power your buses. So that can be either done with plug-in charging, or, as you see in the bottom picture, an automated overhead charging. And so the next thing is, how do we pay for those buses? Jay mentioned the Volkswagen funds, and that'll be well over $100 million available to the state of Florida alone. And what we'll do is sell you a battery bus for the price of a diesel bus, and then we'll give you either a battery lease for 12 years, which gives you a 12-year warranty on your batteries, or we'll finance the delta over a period of time so that you use your fuel savings to make your bus payments. To pay the delta between a diesel bus and a battery electric bus, and you'll still save money in the process. And I can go into that in detail with any of you offline for the sake of time. And so that's just showing here the magnitude of the amounts of money that the costs involved in doing that, amounts of money that you could save. Finally, you mentioned autonomy in vehicles, and we're working with the University of Nevada at Reno. Reno is one of our good customers, and they've donated a bus to the university, which is outfitted with cameras, and they're driving that. And this shows all the different things, data points that you need to collect data for as you try to make a vehicle that you would let loose on the streets with people in the environment. And that's a picture of that bus, and it shows the cameras and everything. And so we are working very rapidly to be a leader in the autonomous bus market as that evolves in the future. And so, for sake of time, I have a video here if you want to see it later. I do have a video here that shows autonomy. I don't know if that's something you want to see now. It's about a 3-minute video.
Y'all want to see it or not? How long is it?
About 3 minutes.
Go ahead.
That'd be great.
Okay. By the way, while it's showing it, we drove a bus. We broke the world record for battery electric vehicles. We drove a bus 1,102 miles on a single charge about 2 months ago at the Navistar test track in Michigan. So as you can see, there's a lot that goes into to developing a data bank before you turn a bus loose on streets. And we're working on all that. And that's operating every day in a real-life environment to collect that data. Any questions for me?
Any further questions? No, sir, I don't believe so. Jay, you about ready to wrap it
About
up?
ready to wrap that up, and thank you, Dale. You know, I asked Dale to come because, again, this stuff is available now. And we know you have to go through an RFP, and we know there are other providers of electric vehicles out there, but it's out there, and we hope you'll give that strong thought as you're putting together your proposal for the Defuniak Springs South and North route. I also wanted to just recognize Tom Waldrop with Electric Cart Company. Tom, if you raise your hand. So Tom's got a business right here in Walton County, and he's putting electric carts out there in watercolor and all along 30A. We've got a great deal of local businesses that can help solve the 30A transportation problem, and we again thank the Commission for adopting this as one of your priorities. And with that, I wanted to let the public know that I'll be sticking around, so will our engineering team. We can answer questions from the public, get their comment, and again, thank you all for taking of your morning.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Anything else? Seeing nothing, we stand adjourned.